Hey, Daniel, would you give me a picture that is a little bit Mormon? More Mormon. Make it more. Make it more Mormon. Little bit more. Just a teach more. Yeah, more.
Okay, we're on in 5, 4.
Welcome to the Extra Mo Show, Faux Show. Today, we got stories. We got a little bit different energy today, at least coming from me.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be up to these guys to bring the spirit
Travis has
in.
got some very chaotic energy.
One of the biggest proofs that the Book of Mormon is true, I'm going to share later. For me, at least, it's always been in my mind of like, that's wild. So we're going to talk about that. So don't let me forget that, everybody, because we could get on tangents.
And then today's a day of tangents.
Today's a day of tangents. We are every show.
You guys are going to have fun today.
Yeah.
All 58 of you.
Yeah, all 58 of you are going to love
Thank
this.
you guys for watching. Yes.
Yeah.
Would you please comment if anyone's getting anything out of this?
Yeah. Or if you want to do a meetup at Curtis Auto and have a barbecue.
That'd be sick.
Yeah, why not, dude?
I was just thinking, like 58 people, if we put them all in this room.
It's a lot, bro.
Yeah, there wouldn't be enough people.
Yeah, well, we can host it at your house.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that.
That's okay.
All right. Well, let's dig in. Today, Daniel, you got a question for us?
Yeah, this one, okay, this question is, it's similar to a previous question I asked, but it's a different context. And I heard this one recently. And this
Don't butter us up. Give us the question
Okay.
and we can handle it.
Okay, all right, here's the question.
I don't know if I can. I want it to be buttered up, but it's okay. Just go.
Okay, all right, I won't. I'll slightly butter it.
Okay.
A thin layer of butter.
Butter's never.
I heard this one recently, similar to one I asked before, but a different context. Here it is. How can God exist and be a just and righteous God if, in the context of history and modern day, you look at Moses and, freeing the Jews, wandering in the wilderness, only to get to their land to be, imprisoned later. And then you look at the LDS Church, members of the church being pushed across the United States due to persecution, right? How can God be a just God if the righteous people, his righteous followers, are always, or not always, shouldn't say that, but this is what they're saying, is always in the dumps. And you look at modern day society, and it seems like all those that are evil and wicked seem to have all that they could ever desire.
Like Travis.
I would say the first thing I would say is that I kind of agree with you on like it sounds like that, but I think one thing is a thing called attribution theory, where have you guys ever bought like a gold Alero and then all of a sudden you see on the street there's gold Aleros everywhere,
Yeah.
or at
Yeah.
least gold cars,
Yeah.
and then you switch colors of cars and then you see that color.
I do
Yeah.
that. I do that with my truck today.
Yeah.
Everywhere I drive, I see my truck, and I'm like, oh, okay.
So I this isn't the only piece, and I want to dive into it more, but I think some of that is that we look at everybody and we're like, look how lucky they are. And they're suffering.
Gold Aleros.
And then we see people suffering, and we're like, those poor people, they're suffering. And they're like, I'm happy. And so we don't know necessarily what's going on. We use our own experience to judge everything around us. And then things that we're familiar with they rise to the top of our consciousness. And so I think part of it is that, where you look at history and you're like, oh, the righteous are always getting chastised. Not necessarily true. I mean, you look at Utah. Yes, there was a dark time. Joseph Smith was martyred. They were pushed across the United States.
Right.
But then it's a pretty good run from 1856 or whatever to now as far as prosperity. And that's not, but then the next part of my thought is even that's not necessarily good. And so maybe the reason God chastises us is because he loves us. What scripture is that? If he loves us,
46.
he will chastise us, right? Or something like that.
I don't know.
But then like with me at least, I'm like, I need to be humbled all the time. I mean, I don't listen. Heavenly Father, I don't want to right now. But it's like if I let to my own devices and I just have tons of easiness, pretty soon I'm doing things that aren't necessarily the best, right? And so perhaps God, being a just and righteous God, realizes this is a probationary state and wants us to return to live with him. He doesn't really care if we have an easy life.
Yeah.
Similar to how I look at my children and it's like, go out and play outside. And they're like, it's too hot. And I'm like, I don't care that it's too hot. It's good for you to go out and play. You'll experience life better and those type of things. But from their point of view, it's like maybe I'm being unjust.
Right.
And so we don't have the perspective that God does. Those are my thoughts right off the top.
I found that scripture. Well, a couple. There's several.
What is it?
That say that. There's one in the Bible in Hebrews 12:6. For whom the Lord loveth, he
That's the one I
chastiseth.
meant.
Chasteneth. I need to read more.
Chasteneth.
Chasteneth, and scourge every son whom he receiveth. And then there's
So scourge, I mean, he's saying if he loves you, he'll scourge you. And we think, well, when Christ was crucified, on the way to the crucifixion, he was scourged. And that means whipped.
yeah.
And so if the Lord loves us, he scourges us.
Yeah, and there's more too. Like
It's rough.
2 Nephi 2:2, thou knowest the greatness of God, and he shall concentrate thine afflictions for thy gain. Helaman 12:3. Thus we see that except the Lord doth chasten his people with many afflictions, they will not remember him. And then in Mosiah, Ether, there's several scriptures that say
Well, this
something
whole
similar to that.
podcast, too, and sorry to go off on this, but this whole podcast, Glenn, has been inspired. If you didn't have one of the worst times in your entire life, meaning your faith crisis, we wouldn't be doing this podcast.
No.
And then what did you learn from your faith crisis you didn't know before? I've known you from before and after, and that old Glenn is dead.
I don't remember.
Even the one that was a good dude going to church and the missionary and all that jazz, he's gone. And this new Glenn is more powerful, less likely to be deterred. Like if you ran into the same temptations again, such as having a leader act like an idiot and hurt your feelings, you would be stronger through it. So it's kind of like maybe we just have to have these so we can grow.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, the reality is that, historically you look at these stories of God's people and what they've had to go through. It was always to establish a foundation. So I think what people have to understand is there's a just God who's had a plan to have his kingdom throughout the whole earth, to flood the whole earth, right? Why hasn't that happened? It has nothing to do with him. It has nothing to do with him not trying. It has to do with the fact that God's children, for the most part, are pretty disobedient, selfish kids. And if not, I mean, just imagine the world if everybody wanted to love Christ and wanted to be the best version of themselves.
Even for I've thought of this before. Even for 1 hour.
Yeah,
It's like, all right, everybody, for 1 hour.
Yeah, just for a day, right, or whatever, right?
Have you ever heard of the radio show called Art Bell, Coast to Coast?
Yeah.
And he did like paranormal stuff and aliens.
Out of Pahrump, Nevada.
Dude, one of my favorite episodes of any radio show was on Art Bell.
It was a great show.
And it was when he was interviewing Angels of Light. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
The guys that just go around the world killing pedophiles.
Yes.
And they had to disguise their voices and stuff.
I remember that.
And I'm like, dude, these guys are awesome.
Yeah.
He goes, well, we do have to identify them with a photograph. So we get in there and, that's him. And then we kill him.
Yeah, and then it would kill him, you know. No. But my point is, he would do this thing where sometimes, like, there would be this need, like someone would be in need, and he wouldn't get religious with it. But he's like, if you pray, we would like all of my listeners to pray, and if you don't pray, we would like you to think about this, and we'll concentrate. Everyone on this is listening to the show, which it was like the largest radio show.
Yeah, it was millions of listeners.
Millions of listeners, and all of these really, really weird things just from one focused minute of everyone thinking about one thing. Miracles
I
would
see.
happen.
So you're thinking, what would an hour be like?
So what would an hour of everyone being like you're saying, like I'm going to support and act like Christ for 1 hour?
Yeah. So so the point that I'm making to your question is
Angels
that
of light.
there's yeah, that was awesome.
That was great.
Is that he's not always chastising his people just because. It's usually because of us. It's usually because of what we're doing. Like if you look at everything that happened to the saints and then read the Joseph Smith papers, he was telling them over and over, you know, the Kirtland Safety Society is going to fail because you guys are arrogant and prideful. Boom. It failed. Major problems for the church, right? Over and over and over. The reason why these promises that were made didn't come to pass is because the saints weren't doing what they were supposed to. So I think we invite that into our lives as a necessity to turn us back to God, right? Where good things happen when you go through difficult times, you know, it's like you turn to God. Like, you know, it's why the poorest people in the world are responding to the missionaries like in droves right now, is because like they're not preoccupied with all this stupid crap that the world's offering them. They're looking for something deeper. You know,
Yeah.
they know they're not going to find respite in Babylon, so they're looking for something, and which I've heard some really cool mission stories this week. Elder Lund, anyway, a guy came and spoke in our ward, and he talked to the youth about. I thought this was crazy because the night before I watched the 3-part series on Netflix about how we got Bin Laden, which, by the way, I mean, I was
Crazy.
I was crying out of love and respect for the men that, I mean, dude, just these are, gosh, we've got to take these athletes and stuff and quit idolizing them. The guys that idolize are the guys that were like, yeah, I wrote my daughter's letters because we just knew we weren't coming home from this.
Yeah, I
one.
want like a Marcus Luttrell.
Yeah. So I was
T-shirt.
gonna, you know, my buddy jumped on the suicide bombers so that I could get him. Yeah, you know, these are just amazing people, right? But anyway, they're talking about this mission in Jalalabad or whatever in Pakistan, which is like a rich area there. You know, it's like a resort area where they got in, and crazy story. But this guy is talking to us in church Sunday about all the baptisms that happened in Pakistan last month. Like 1,500 baptisms or something.
Whoa,
How did that happen?
that's cool.
And there's not even proselyting.
Yeah, we don't have missionaries there.
Right. So he's like kind of slipping, telling us all this missionary work that's happening throughout the world and the Middle
pretty
East.
cool.
And we're not even official. These aren't even like official missions, dude.
That's
These are
crazy.
like members of the church that are preaching. And I couldn't get to the bottom. Like, I didn't get to talk to them. So it wasn't like, wait, are these Muslims? Or are they like Christian refugees? But according to what I was reading after, like, the Christians are being persecuted crazy in Pakistan. So all this stuff's happening in secret. But there they are in like a river or whatever, just baptizing over 1,000 people. Anyway, it's pretty cool. And
That's cool.
hearing about the stuff in Africa and everything. But
You know, I think, Daniel, to your question, is like, well, if God's just, why does he allow bad things to happen to good people? And why does good things happen to bad people? I think that we don't really have a good understanding and a good enough perspective of what is good and what is bad.
Yeah.
It's like, and it's really a matter of timing. It's like, is this good or bad? I don't know. I'll tell you later, you know?
Yeah.
It's like something that feels terrible and crushing might be the thing that's sanctifying you, like Glenda talks about, refining you,
I look at the
strengthening
difficulties in my own life, and I mean, I would never want to relive them, but I can tell you, I'm grateful that they happened. Like,
Right.
I'm grateful
Well,
for who
it's
I am, you know, and
Hindsight's 2020,
Sure.
right? Where it's
But-
like it's easy to look back at like past trials and be like, oh man, yeah, like I gained these attributes, or I learned this thing, or my life improved in this way. I don't know. I look at my divorce,
yeah,
right? Like at the time in the middle of all of it, I was livid, right, and bitter.
Don't
and
want to relive that
angry.
moment, right?
Right? No. But then, I mean, that led to me meeting my wife now and being able to be sealed to my son for my first marriage, and be sealed to my kids, and have like an eternal marriage, which I didn't have before. And so it's like, yeah. I mean, in the moment, I was like, curse God. This is awful. I hate my life. And then, you look back on it and you're like, oh, yeah, he was lining up all these things for me.
Yeah, I mean, to bring up a point, I'm curious. By the way, Mike's here visiting again. Mike, if you want to say hello.
Hello.
I was talking about the eternal perspective and the 500-year plan, Let me ask you a sincere question. 500 years from now, when everyone looks through the difficulties they went through in this life, are they going to be glad that they went through them or not?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
I think we're all going to be glad. And so and I was just reading a scripture today about, it's funny you mentioned that, but talked about how, Alma's talking to his son, Mosiah, and he's telling him like about his conversion and everything. And he brings up, that for believers, it gives you a different perspective to go through these things. It helps you go through them so that you can see them for what they are. And that is really, it's so hard for us to say this because we're all still going through stuff, right? But it's for our good. Like, it's a blessing. And imagine not having a testimony of the gospel and you're just going through hard crap in your life. And so when people are like, why are the missionaries out preaching? No, it's not so they can get more tithing. It's so that they can have help people go through these difficult things and understand them and help them get more purpose and meaning and peace in their life, no matter how hard their trials are.
Right.
So, there's men that you talk to that this struggle to provide for their families, and they're just bitter that it's not going well or whatever. The reality of it is, like, it's such a blessing to be able to do that, right? And it's such a blessing to fail at it, because what makes a man become a man? It's not the guy with the ease of the way, man.
Listen to this story that I heard. I watched a little YouTube video today, and I only remember his first name, and it doesn't matter. But he's on the internet. You could probably
was it John?
It was David.
I knew it was one of those.
It was one of those, but you can probably find it from this story because it's a wild story. I actually want to tell it. It kind of talks about this. Like he had this terrible experience, right? And he had a faith crisis, and he decided to leave the church.
LDS guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And not only did he leave it, he hated the church.
Most people that do hate it because
and he joins groups, and he was an ex-mo, like going after the church.
Yuck.
And he starts talking to this guy, and it's a guy. It actually, the story reminded me of you, Glenn.
Okay.
They started like fighting in the comment sections of like little different places and stuff.
Right.
And but then after a few years of that, they kind of became friends. So then
mutual respect for each other's excellent points they were making.
His comment section, like, wisdom is
like
unparalleled.
I realized I bonded with him when I used the same slur against somebody else in a different fight. And I'm like, I stole that off that guy.
Yeah, I got it.
That guy's awesome.
And one time I used the thing that he said to me against him.
Yeah.
No, but it is weird. They kind of bonded it. So it goes on, and this guy hates the church. And they become friends, and it's gone like 10 years now. And one time, then this David guy gets so sick that he's like he's gonna die, he believes. And for some reason, his teenage son all of a sudden comes in and says, "Hey, there's some people here. They said they wanted to see you." And it's the freaking Mormon missionaries. And for some reason, his son let him in. And he says, "Get the hell out of my house." He hates them that bad. Mm-hmm. And they're like, "We felt like we should come here."
I did see this. Yeah, I did see this.
And he's like, "Get out of my house." And they're like, "Well, we feel really strong. We should be here. Can we give you a blessing?" And he's like, well, if I let you give me a blessing, will you just get out of here? And they're like, "Yes." So they give him a blessing. He's instantly healed. And he makes a point of it. He's like, "I'm not meaning I went to sleep and woke up and felt better in a few days."
Yeah.
I'm like, my fever broke. I could walk around. And what I did is I stood up and immediately walked them to the door and told them never come back to my house. That's how much he hated them. But then it gets better.
It's like Trump derangement syndrome.
Yeah. And then it gets better. And he's still friends with this John dude. And John is the guy that's...
They've been arguing.
And they just get in and they keep arguing. And at some point... John has been putting his name in the temple over and over again, and David decides he's going to come back to church, and and he repents and everything.
Was this on that?
And it's like 26
Come Back
years.
podcast.
I think so.
Yeah, I think I saw it. It's a pretty cool story.
I'll have to find it. Maybe we can put in the links. But I was tearing up about it because then he tells his story to a few people, and then he gets a call from Uchtdorf.
No way.
And Uchtdorf's like, "Hey, someone told me that you left the church for like 26 years and you you hated the church and then you came back. He's like, yeah. He's like, would you come and talk to me? So he comes and talks to him. And he's like, hey, I want to use your story in general conference. Is that okay? And he's like, sure. So then you can see the general conference. He's telling him, he doesn't use his name, he just uses his first name. Tells this story that I just told you guys. But here's where it even gets better. Then he runs into this other guy. And the guy comes and is like, hey, are you David? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, from Oak Hills, Texas? It's like, yeah. Oh, the reason he converted is his wife got a job, and he's like, and she wanted to join the church, get him back to church. And he's like, well, if we end up having you get your job in Utah, we will, but there's no openings. And he said, so he's like, okay, I'll do it. And then she got a job in Utah. So anyway, so that was a little miracle. That's
more miracles.
Yeah, more miracles. And then he comes to Utah. He talks to Uchtdorf. Uchtdorf tells the story. This guy comes up and he's like, hey, you David from Oak Hills, Texas? He's like, yeah. And he's like, you don't recognize me, do you? He's like, no. And he's like 10 years ago, I felt inspired to go to your house. I was on my mission.
Oh, wow.
And I gave you a blessing. And then I heard your story, and I looked you up, and I've left the church. And so this missionary hears this story and decides to come back to church because of the story of
him going and
helping another person.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so I was like, all this pain and suffering that people.
But there weren't horses.
There weren't horses, no.
Dude, what are you talking about? How could you even believe that? Because there's no horses.
There's no horses, even though there are. But
oh yeah, there are
horses now, so we can't use that one. But I'm with you 100%. Like this, I get how people are like, well, everything could be a coincidence. I'm like, I guess technically true, but this is to your question earlier, Daniel, a kind God, and this David guy, in my opinion, probably needed to leave the church and be in whatever that was and have those miracles come to his life.
As part of his 30D chess.
30D chess.
His benefit, everyone. Mike, didn't you have a coincidence this week?
Oh yeah, I was telling you about that on the way over here.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, it was kind of interesting because for the most part I get along with my boys. I
Mike,
love them.
how many kids do you have? Let's learn about you.
I have 5 kids. So
Five
the older
kids.
4, older 4 boys, and then we had our little girl. My second one is still on his mission out there in Hamburg.
Yeah,
Germany.
Hamburg, nice.
Hamburg, Germany. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Actually, he started off in my hometown of Karlsruhe. So kind of fun fact.
Mike lives in Germany.
Cool. Yeah.
So
yeah. So
that's another miracle in my opinion. Like, what are the chances of that?
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
Right.
Yeah.
On our way over, I was telling Glenn, I said, for the most part, I get along with my boys, right? We love each other and everything's good. Well, this past week, whatever was in the air or something, man, we were like lions. Testosterone's flying. We were lions on the safari, just scrapping. And man, it was kind of tough, I'll admit. Like, it was rough. And, my wife and I are talking, and she's not a lady who really cries. She's pretty tough.
That's cool. You guys are talking though.
we're talking, and she's definitely feeling it, and she let me know. And so, that's how Mike realized that, okay, I need to calm down, and I'm thinking about this and how I've been with my sons, and kept trying to say, hey, this is normal. It's the testosterone, right? And I go to bed. I'm kind of grumpy, because we've been sitting there button heads, and now my wife's unhappy, and so that makes me really unhappy. And
the whole house is mass hysteria. Dogs and cats living together.
It's building up. I'm not making this better. It's just building. And I go to bed and wake up the next morning, and I'm kind of like, man, how do I fix this? I get down on my knees and say my prayers and just, Heavenly Father, I need some help. Man, I am just, this is one of those situations I don't know what to do. I can't seem to talk to my kids and all that. And it's interesting because when I go to bed, I always have something on YouTube to help me sleep and whatnot. And most of the time, everything that shows up on my YouTube account is something politics. I watch a ton of politics. It fascinates me. I love it. I love seeing what's going on in the world. So I've got everything on my news feeds, politics. That morning, I woke up, and among everything else, one stood out to me, and it was President Nelson. And somebody had posted his talk from April 2016, and it was the price of priesthood power. And in it, President Nelson tells a story about 2 girls that wound up dying, and kind of the same thing where The family, winds up leaving the church, and then they come back. But in the process of all that, he talks about, what is the price of priesthood power?
Well, they died like he was doing a surgery.
Yeah, while he's doing surgery on them, correct.
Oh my!
It's
President Nelson was doing the surgery and they died.
And so the mother and the father, of course, are like extremely bitter. They leave. He tries to contact them. Nothing. They want zero to do with him over decades. And finally, after years, he felt like these two girls came and talked to him, and he reaches out, and the family's willing to listen. But the part for me that really stuck out, and why I was saying I don't really believe in this whole coincidence thing, is because in that talk later on, he talks about the priesthood power and what are we willing to do to have that. And I just thought, man, of all the talks that I could have read or seen, here's this talk that I needed at that moment that helped me out. And how many people I told Glenn also, before I came over, I was talking to my wife about this, and just went, I think it's fascinating that so many people out there would attribute this to coincidence. I'm like, I don't believe it. I am a firm believer that the Lord has his hand in our lives and will reach out there and tell us things or bring things to our attention when we need it in a way that'll touch our hearts, that'll help us get through. And I feel like that was kind of the stepping stone that I needed to get me started on, at least this week, healing that relationship with my boys.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like it. Thanks. Yeah,
That's neat.
you're talking about coincidences and all this stuff, and here's what's crazy is I wanted to talk a little bit about this chapter 36 in Alma, and here's what it's crazy to me how this is a very insignificant little project that we do, this Extra Mo show.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a few followers. I don't know if we're doing any good or not, but we feel like we should keep doing it,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's righteous intention here. Have you guys noticed, though, how, the Lord is even involved in this? Have you guys noticed it?
I always feel compelled to come here.
Have you noticed it, anyone? Dan,
Yeah, I find that when the day of the podcast, on Tuesdays, because we record on Tuesday and then it gets released 2 days later typically.
Yeah.
Unless I sleep in or something. But yeah, there's days like on today where I was thinking, I'm what question should I ask? And I went back and forth and I kept coming back to that same question. And then it's just ironic that you were reading about it. And I feel like that happens a lot, with some of the things I think of. And the thing is, I don't feel
that's that kind of stuff that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Is like Mike had mentioned this story to me coming driving here. Travis just thought of a crazy spiritual story about this David guy, and there's coincidences, and it's tied to what he's doing.
Well, and last week
your
too.
first question is about.
Last week too, we had one like that too. Where
You were talking about suicide. I just listened to a
posted
talk
it.
from
You
Elder
just
Renlund
posted it.
about suicide and posted it an hour before we got here. Nobody talking to each other. I'm just
Sick.
noticing it a lot. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am also. I mean, and this is just a silly little project that we do for fun and we're hoping to help somebody, and yet, dude, I can tell he's involved with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because think of the first question you asked. Again, listeners, none of us call each other before this. We don't talk about anything.
We're terrible
I
communicators.
had actually sent a text saying, think of a time you were prompted and followed the prompting, and think of a story. None of us have even talked about that yet.
I have one though.
Okay, cool. So we're ready. But think of the first question, and now think of the first verse of the chapter I want to discuss. My son, give ear to my words. This is Alma talking to his son, Mosiah. For I swear unto you that inasmuch as ye shall keep the commandments of God, ye shall prosper in the land. So, dude, we're talking about why do the followers of God struggle in this stuff? Mm-hmm. And then I'm talking about how, I think it's because of the decisions they make. And then it's there's the first verse is talking about what happens to God's followers if they keep his commandments.
Right.
And if they're faithful, right? And he's, so he's talking to his son here. I'm sorry, it was Helaman. I'm so sorry. I said Mosiah, I think. Hey, the energy drinks haven't kicked in all the way.
You drink some.
It's but and Mike's talking about being a father to his sons. And is there anything we want more, guys, for our children than to be righteous and to have the peace and and security through the troubled times we know they're going to live through
Right.
than the gospel. No, and it's a heartfelt discussion that he's given his son Helaman. And he says, I beseech of thee that thou wilt hear my words and learn of me. For I do know that whosoever shall put their trust in God shall be supported in their trials and their troubles and their afflictions, and shall be lifted up at the last day. Unplanned, me not even remembering this verse, we just talked about this. Like,
Right.
I just think this is crazy that we need to identify what happens, even in this little room where we do this thing. Like,
I remember on my mission, it was big in the people we'd be teaching in Ohio in the Bible Belt, and they're like, the Lord is wherever 2 or 3 are gathered together in His name, or something like that.
Yeah, and it's true. It's a scripture.
And I actually feel like that happens every time we come together.
Every time. So
I've been in a grumpy mood two times. One was today, and another time, and I always feel uplifted, and I feel like my evil natural man gets banished
for a couple hours.
Yeah.
Till we wake up on Wednesday. Behold, I say unto you, if I had not been born of God, I should not have known these things. But God has, by the mouth of his holy angel, made these things known unto me, not of any worthiness of myself. Think about that. Not of any worthiness of myself. I don't know if we talked about it last week on the podcast, but one of these most spiritual moments of my life was when I wasn't worthy at all. You know, did I mention that on the podcast, or were we just talking?
Yeah, I think.
And
I think you'd mentioned it.
I was just saying I was sorry to Heavenly Father, like, hey man, I'm a lost cause. I'm sorry. You really tried. And I saw His hand in my life, and I saw Him, you know, bless me, and I knew it, and I knew the church was true, and I just didn't care. I was just a young idiot that just was figured out as a lost cause. And you know, at that moment, like, I remember all my friends had left and everything, and you know, I'll just share what happened. They had all left. They all asked me to go party with them, and I'm like, nah, I'm gonna stay. I'm kind of down. I'm just feeling down. And they all left, and I'm alone in there. And so I start writing my feelings, like weird. I used to do that a lot. It's sad. I had a ton of writings like this that were stolen when my office got broken into. They were in a file that I was cleaning out, and it got stolen. Weird, but sure, I just got thrown in the trash.
What is this? Dang it!
Yeah,
I wanted
those
money.
guys got disappointed. Thought that file box had money or something. It just had business plans and writings of some crazy person.
This guy's really emotional.
But yeah, so I just remember I was like writing, and I did, like, I wasn't really even repenting or anything, but I just like stopped and out loud, like, said, Heavenly Father, man, you've done so much for me, and I'm just a lost cause. Like, I'm really sorry. Like, it wasn't a sorry, like, I'm going to repent and change. It was just like, I'm sorry, man. Like, you know. And then, like, you know, without getting too, heck, it's a spiritual podcast, whatever. But literally, guys, like, I'm alone. You gotta understand, my dad's had died. I didn't have a family. I hadn't seen my mom in years. I just didn't have anybody. And I'm just sitting there apologizing to my God. And trust me, a total state of unworthiness, like totally unworthy. And literally, I can't believe I'm sharing this, but literally embraced, like from behind me, like literally like holding me. It was so weird what he said, but he didn't, like, nothing profound or anything. He just said, "You've always been on my side." And it lasted like 20 seconds, and then he was gone. And so I'm sitting there, like, drop my pen, alone in this apartment, which was really just a den of iniquity. And just had this experience, like, what? Like, and it was like the most encouraging thing ever, man. It was just encouraging, like, okay, so what is he talking about? Because I haven't always been. And then kind of my mind was open, and he was talking about, like, before this life. And, like, I don't know what I did, but I supported him or whatever, right? But Elma's talking about this to his son. He's like, not of any worthiness of myself. And so I want, like, to get this message across to people, like, you don't earn the love of Christ. You don't earn any of that. But you can have these answers. You can have these experiences just by reaching out. Like, he's even talking about just like his dad. Like, and if you know what Alma went through, like, holy smokes, right? It's a crazy, powerful experience during his most times where he was in the midst of iniquity, right? And so, I don't know. I think it's a pretty important message that he wants his son to get across. And I think we're doing this podcast to try to get across to people that have lost faith and lost testimony. We're not trying to get you back because we get points. The bishop doesn't give us, hey, you don't have to come to meetings now. You brought one back.
Well, I worked out a deal. I pay 8% tithing.
Yeah, we don't get a discount on tithing. We don't get a discount on tithing, right? We don't get any of that. But we understand that, hey, guys, there are real troubles. There are real afflictions. And it says here that you will be supported in those. You'll be helped and supported, you know?
I like that. There's that one story where, if you remember, and I'm bad at, like, I remember the stories, but I don't remember, like, the references.
Yeah.
But where the Lamanites have captured the Nephites, right? And they're making them basically be slaves, and they're carrying heavy burdens, you know, and I picture them like mining and putting rocks on their back and walking, and the Lord came to them and he made their burdens light. And it's always been interesting to me. He didn't take their burdens away.
Yeah.
They still were in bondage. The Lamanites were still in charge, but their burdens were light, and they actually, with a cheerful heart, were able to carry them. There's actually a cool song by Don Williams my wife listens to. It's this country song by this old, like, you know, those like old crooner country guys that are like Johnny Cash style guys. Don Williams kind of like that, and it's called
Don Williams had great songs.
Yeah. He has a song called Stronger Back.
Yeah, I know. I remember
And
that
it's
song,
such a good song. It reminds me of that Book of Mormon reference, and then what you're talking about too, where I'm sure even after you had that embrace and that experience, which I really appreciate you sharing that, because
I've never shared that with anyone but my wife, I think.
You've told me once, but it was at Denny's, the sacred place.
Yeah, all kinds of crazy sacred stuff happened at Denny's.
But you only told me once, and then after many times you've told me, I'm not going to tell you this, but I already knew what it was, but you had forgotten you told me. Anyway, but my point is, even then, you went back to your normal life, and the burdens you had before, you still had. Sure. Nothing had changed. But I would ask, maybe I should ask before I assume.
No, yeah.
That your burdens were a little bit lighter after that, because you felt that you know, your dad was dead, you had no family, but you knew that someone cared about you.
For sure, man. I like I said, like immediately I went from a place of, okay, I'm giving up. Again, that wasn't a time of faith crisis. That was just, I mean, I understand why a lot of people go inactive, man. It was just a time where I was like, I'm just done. Mm-hmm. Whether it's true or not, I don't even care.
Playing some hoops.
I'm just going to play hoops and party and like whatever, dude. I don't fit in. Yeah, you know, it's another reason I want to do this podcast. Some of us guys just don't feel like, and I'm not like this anymore because I look at my membership completely different in the church, but I never felt like I fit in at church for years and years and years. I was like, dude, I don't even understand what these people are doing. They're like the craziest. Like, I don't know. Like, that to be, I don't even know how to explain the culture that I feel like I've seen in the Utah Mormonism, but it's almost like the Stepford Wives for me. Like, I walk around like, what, dude?
Peter Priesthoods.
Yeah, like, what? You're really this, like, chipper all the time? Like, about doing your calling? Like, does nobody have any natural, like, anger that they carry or anything? Like,
what do you mean anger?
Yeah, dude, what, brother?
Brother, why would I?
What are you talking about?
Look at this. Look at the sky.
Yeah, man. It's like, great. so like, anyway, Travis, that's excellent. I like he says here, when he's coming out of his doldrums, right? He talks about feeling condemned and the damned. He's telling his son how bad it was. So obviously he remembers where he was at. So I want to talk about this. Now, as my mind caught hold upon this thought of Jesus Christ, he's talking about, oh, Jesus, thou Son of God. Now, I want you to think of the very sacred experience I just shared in my life that I really hope I don't ask you to edit out. I'm wondering if that's something I should put out or if, I don't know. But Maybe we leave it. I'll think about that. But I wasn't asking for mercy. I just was saying sincerely a relationship that I had with the Savior because of my mission. I knew who he was. I served as his faithful disciple, man. Let me tell you guys something. When I went on my mission, everybody listened to me. Everybody. And do you know why?
You're doing the right things.
Because I would stop a person and I wouldn't go, "Hi, I'm Elder Curtis." I would say, "Do you believe in Jesus Christ?" By the guys, thousands of times. "Do you believe in Jesus Christ?" "Yes. He sent me here to you because he loves you. You should listen to me." And guys, 99% of the time, they were like, "Okay." I mean, dude, I felt the authority of being his disciple, and it worked.
Like,
Yeah.
are you moving on, or are you going to stay on?
No,
that
this
thread?
is on topic. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Jesus, thou Son of God, have mercy on me, who am in the gall of bitterness and am encircled about by the everlasting chains of death. And now behold, he's telling his son, he's trying to encourage his son, "I could remember my pains no more." So obviously he could remember, but he can't even identify how bad it was. Like he can't even, right? I could remember them no more. He talks about the joy and the peace and happiness he felt was as exquisite a level of joy as was the horrible misery that he felt, right?
Here's a question about that I've thought about, and I don't know how I feel about it. Do we have to have, is there a way to experience more joy than the amount of pain we've had?
Yeah. In verse 24.
Okay, let's hear it.
"I have labored, my son, without ceasing." So again, why are we doing the podcast? Why do you guys do your callings? Why do you go to church? You feel duty bound because of what he's done for you. And now from that time until now, I have labored without ceasing, that I might bring souls unto repentance, that I might bring them to taste of the exceeding joy of which I did taste, that they may also be born of God and be filled with the Holy Ghost. And now behold, O my son, the Lord doth give me exceedingly great joy in the fruit of my labors. So when you ask, can the joy and everything be as great as the suffering? Yeah, if you what? Labor.
No,
For the cause of other people.
My question is a little subtly different. Let's say I somehow in this life have never suffered.
Oh.
Can I have joy?
Oh, like can you even understand what it is if you've never?
Right.
No.
And so that is an interesting. Back to Daniel's comment, and maybe I want to hear you weigh in on it. But you're like, why does God let us suffer? Essentially,
Right.
Is that the condition of this mortal life where it's like, I want you to have joy, but in order to have it, you have to feel pain. It's like that was a joy,
Pain, sunshine, and rain.
Yeah, thanks.
Who is that?
It was Kid and Play, wasn't it? Or no?
I don't know.
No, I don't remember.
Whatever it
That was
is,
way
it's some
before
great
my
80s
time.
hip hop. You guys aren't even old enough.
Mike and
No,
Daniel.
no.
He's freaking old, dude. That was when music was real, dude.
Dude, okay, I'm not going to go into that.
But I'm curious. So that's my question, and maybe there's no answer to it.
No, I've thought about this, and I'll just I don't know. Like I'll use an example in the story, and hopefully she doesn't care that I share it because she watches all of our episodes.
Oprah Winfrey?
It was
Yeah.
Glenn. It was Rob Bass
Oh, I don't even remember.
and DJ Easy Rock.
Sunshine.
So I look up to my mom, and I always thought that like,
I look up to your mom, and I've never even met her.
dude, she's like perfect.
She just
right?
watches the Extra Mo show and makes comments, and she's awesome.
Yeah. I always joke around that like she'll get twinkled, right? Like in the last days, she'll just like, she won't experience death. She'll just like, bloop, bloop, and she'll be like resurrected and perfected body.
Like a
and-
bumper sticker says, "In case of rapture, this car will be unmanned."
Yeah. But, and I thought that for the longest time. And even when I was in my younger inactive years, and I felt like I was suffering and God didn't love me and I was like doing everything wrong and all these horrible things were happening to me. I'm going through this divorce, and I'm like, man, I've got all these terrible things that are happening to me. And then my mom would be like, trying to comfort me and trying to, help me, feel better, empathize, sympathize. And I always would be like, how do you know? Like you, I don't even think you've said a swear word in your entire life, right? Like you've never said a bad thing about anybody. Like how can you relate with my like pain and suffering, right? And then it wasn't until much later, years later, that I learned a lot more about my mom's childhood, and like the awful, terrible events and things that took place in her life that I wasn't fully aware of, or at least did not know how deeply it impacted her. And so I think my answer to that question would be is, from our perspective, and I guess this is kind of what you were saying earlier, Travis, is, you know, from our perspective, we may look at someone else and be like, oh man, like everything's going so well for them. And maybe their spirit doesn't need like extreme crazy things to have happened in their life. I guess if you were to try to take everyone's pain and suffering and put it on some type of scale. But I think every person that comes down to earth is going to experience pain. And that whatever level of pain that needs to be for that specific person, that will give them opposite, like light, you know, light without darkness, darkness without light. You can't tell the difference.
Maybe some of them aren't as dumb as I am, and they don't take a ton of bricks. They can just have like one brick.
Yeah.
And they can learn and get back on track.
Dude, that's me. I'm like on Home Alone 2. I'm just like brick after brick after brick. And I'm just standing there getting clocked again and again.
That's such a good movie.
Guys, I have come to the knowledge in my life how most of our trials are us misinterpreting promptings, misinterpreting most of the difficulties in our life. Honestly, you guys, especially our generation, think about it. None of us went to Vietnam. None of us went to Korea. None of us stormed the beaches of Normandy. Right. Dude, our lives have been so freaking easy. Most of the trials in all of our lives and misery is by our own choosing and by our own, again, misinterpreting promptings, misinterpreting the way we're supposed to be living our lives, the things that we're supposed to be doing, the places we're supposed to be putting our time, all this stuff. We are victims of our own ignorance. That
100%.
The scales are lifted off our eyes as we serve, as we are involved in the work. Alma's teaching his son, Helaman, as I labored to help others find this exquisite happiness, I found this. I was supported during this. I was carried through this trial, through this thing. And, you know, luckily, I don't know if it's that I'm bipolar or what, but luckily, you know,
He says nonchalantly.
If I am, I don't mind.
We have a good time.
Yeah, we do.
If you're not happy, just wait 30 minutes.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the manic phase will be over soon. So what I'm saying is, like, I don't know if everyone's like this or if it's more me because of my tendency to be a little crazy, but I do know that there's been multiple times where I'm living this way and I'm on a higher plane. And I also do know that I'm a jackass who's ruining my own life on these other times.
Right.
And I can see both of them.
Yeah.
And there's no way that it makes sense to know this other times exist. Like,
why do you go to that one again?
Yeah, you still do. We still do, man. We're like, you know what? Things are just too good right now. I'm going to sabotage it. I'm going to do something stupid, right?
I live the pride cycle, like personally in my own life. I've watched it. Even when I served in the bishopric, and even like I remember having several conversations, me and my bishop, in bishopric meetings, different things like that. And, you know, we would usually start bishopric meeting and things like that with like a prayer and scripture, you know, different things like that. Try to bring spirit in. Yeah. And there was many times where we'd come in and be like, man, I'm just not feeling it. Like, I don't know.
Especially after year 3.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, we only got 2 more years left. No, brother. Why'd you bring that? Oh, sorry.
But no,
it was just a candy bar.
I think depending on the circumstances, I think I go through the pride cycle personally, like every 3 months. Right,
yeah,
like I'm on a high,
and this was
I'm on a lull, and then I'm on a high.
I'm glad to hear it's not just me, man. Like,
No, I think it's normal. But I wanted to bring up a comment. You talked about your mission and how aggressive you were with, in a good way. And then we'd bring up this price. I was like, it's kind of also a humble brag a little bit. My son's on his mission, and talked to him this last week, and he talked about the struggle that he had at first, because he really struggled. He had some tough companions, plus he was just, I don't want to but he was being kind of lazy, and he knew it. He was very honest about it, which I actually appreciate. He didn't try to deny it.
Everybody's mission. I don't care who you are.
But
He's got
he
these
goes,
cycles too, right?
He's like, I remember the 2 transfers where I changed. This is his words, from a boy, and then the boy died, and I became a man.
Yeah.
And then this last P day, he's an AP now, so they're super busy anyway. But on P day, they really felt like they should go out and work for 2 hours, and so they called 25 people. And they found 8 people that want to come to church
during the 2 hours.
And they committed one person to be baptized on their P day. And I thought, how cool is that he's gone from this little boy that went through the struggles. Yeah. Now he's on the high. I'm sad to say he'll probably come back down again. But it's
sure, man.
But it's like, how enjoyable and how much power do we have? And then to hear him talk about it, it's like he literally was so excited. It's like, what'd you do?
Is there a cooler thing at all? Like, guys, for those of you struggling with faith, we're talking about 19 and 20-year-old kids, dude, that's what they're excited about. It's absolutely amazing. Do you guys follow the Hello Saints guy, Pastor Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
He's interesting, right?
He's pretty cool to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he's pretty sincere, but I don't know.
Is this the guy that he's not LDS.
He's not LDS.
But he
goes to church, and he's gone to the conference center and different places.
I think he wanted to know all about the Saints just to know his enemy before he started,
Yeah.
But I think he
still preaches for filthy lucre.
Sure. I still think that guy is sincere, man. I think I'd like to get to know him. But at this point, I'm kind of now wait, are you just stubborn? How do you see all this crap and not have questions?
I remember when Saratoga Springs Temple, and he did an episode on that. That's when I first saw him, and he's like, he's going through it, and he's like, just really complimentary things, really good insights that I think even a lot of members didn't take away from him.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm with you. It's like
he just did a cool episode where he followed missionaries. So Daryl Eves, he was on Paraguay with me. He's a producer on The Chosen. He hooked him up with a mission president in Texas, and Pastor Jeff went down and hung out with the missionaries for a day.
Bro, come on.
He's like, dude, this is crazy. These kids are up exercising at 6:30. They're 19, and then,
I'm gonna have to watch that.
And they're just working, and he's like, oh my gosh, dude, this is crazy. And he's just following them around. He goes to a discussion with them.
That mission president connected him with the studs.
Oh, for sure.
Actually, no.
What?
These were the most regular missionaries you've ever seen, dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. One of them's like, hey. you know those guys that you got? You were there to see your cop, and you're like, dude, why? Why, dude? We have nothing in common.
I had one missionary companion. He was my last companion, and I loved him. And I really do love him.
I love all those guys.
And he made me 2 goodbye cakes.
What a nice.
Sick.
And you didn't do shiz for him, I bet.
No.
You left him a note.
Bro,
hey, dude, keep on keeping.
Never change.
And he's like, I made you these cakes for 12 hours. Yeah, dude, we all had cops like that.
I know.
Hey, elder.
And I'm like, we just couldn't have been more mismatched, but at the same time, out of all my companions, I think about him the most because he's so Christ-like.
Yeah.
And anyway, I don't even know why I brought that up, but it's like, those missionaries, you're just like,
this
you're
Pastor
like,
Jeff dude is following these missionaries around, and then he's like, now what are you guys doing? Going door to door, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can follow us around, and he's like, okay, and they just go around knocking doors, and by the end of the day, this dude looks tired.
Of course he is. Have you ever been? Real question. Did you? And Mike, you served a mission?
I did.
Okay. I started to be exclusive, Daniel. I feel bad now, but
there's only 4 of us in the room.
So
one of these people is doing his own thing. No, but have you ever been more tired than you were on your mission, dude?
No.
So I adopted two babies and had a baby.
Yeah, actually, that would make me more tired than my mission. At your age?
When I was, yes, but when
If there was a baby in my house right now, bro, I'd move out.
When I was going through it, I would be up in the middle of the night and I'd be like, you know what this feels like? When I was on my mission.
Mm-hmm.
I literally, it's been like 20 years and it's like, it was similar level.
Dude, one of my favorite tired missionary stories. You guys will relate to this. Me and Elder Dewey, we're in this little town on the border of Brazil. I mean, we are just getting our butts handed to us, dude. It is
Yeah,
like,
sometimes it's not
It
good.
is brutal, man. Like, no success. We had this day where there's like, we're like, dude, there's some negative energy against us. Let's go visit everyone with a baptismal date today and just get everyone, 8 people, hand us our books back and tell us, don't ever come back. And we're like, dude, so I'm just sitting.
We were coming to you for positive reinforcement.
I'm just sitting on a curb like, this is horrible. And so we get home and it's like 9:30 at night, dripping sweat. Guys, you're in the jungles of South America with a shirt and tie. Just everything's wet, like you're in the shade, you're just sweating. You got weird rashes all over your body. It's just horrible, dude.
I have funguses in my toenails.
Yeah, so we get in and we're making this bread with tomato sauce and meat and
was it
cheese, like a pepper. Like we're trying to make like a pizza in America, but really it's just this horrible sandwich.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So dude, we're eating on our beds talking, and dude just fully dressed, just fall asleep.
Yeah.
Right. So we're just like out. Lights are on. I'm asleep in my tie, and Elder Dewey's over there passed out in his clothes. We still got our shoes on. I'm not even laying fully on the bed, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just laying there with my feet on the ground and asleep.
Dude.
And I'm hearing this little... Here's what I wake up to, dude.
Yuck.
And I'm like, wow. And dude, so the little stool next to my bed's like right here, and I'm waking up like this, okay? And there's this little... And I got this little metal plate with my
Gross.
little horrible pizza.
Yeah.
And dude, my eyes kind of open up like, and there's a freaking rat like this big, just staring at my face, eating my pizza, like getting a plate, going. And I look at it, I'm like, are you kidding me? And so, dude, I don't want to move fast because it's huge.
Yeah, it might eat you.
And I'm freaking scared. I'm like, hey, Dewey, wake up, man.
I need your help.
What? Oh, yeah, we got to get ready for bed. Dude, what the heck is that? And so like, oh, dude, the mission was so fun.
Dude,
I pulled my head back like this, like, all right, dude, that thing's freaking massive.
Rat.
And the rat, you can tell, he's like betrayed by me. Like in his mind, we had
I thought we were homies.
We had bonded, sharing my food with him.
This guy's
And
nice.
He's looking in my face like, hey there, buddy. And he sets my pizza down and slowly descends off the stool. He's not even running, and just walks out of the room.
It's like,
And I look at Elder Dude and I'm like,
done with you.
I'm like, we have to kill that. Like, that is in our house. So he grabs a broom and I grab the slingshot, or vice versa. And so we go into the next room and we hear it. Okay, they don't have closets. This is entertaining, I hope, for the listener.
Hey,
They have these roperos. They're like a wardrobe, furniture that your clothes hang.
Right.
And it's built in these 6 drawers. So we hear it somewhere in there and I'm like, dude, you guys got to realize this thing's like a dog. It's big. I'm freaked out by
Small
it.
poodle.
Yeah, it's like a big rat, okay? And you got to realize this house had like cracks in the walls. Trees were growing through the walls. We're just out in the jungle. Dude, it wasn't even on mission rules, but there was nothing you could get there that obeyed the rules. We lived in it's horrible. Horrible conditions.
you already told us there's a rat here, so you don't have to, like, we get it.
Oh, no, this is just one of several, but this is the biggest one.
Yeah.
like in this same pension, Matt Bateman freaked out, falling asleep on the toilet while he's having diarrhea, and wakes up to a rat on his foot and stomps it to death with his flip-flops, blood all over the bath. The stains were still on the wall when I get there. So
It's like a murder scene.
So, dude, this place was crazy. So I'm like kind of scared, and you gotta remember we were just
they
asleep.
call me on a mission.
And so I hear it in the ropero, and I'm like, get ready, Elder, get ready. And I open the bottom drawer, and nothing. And I'm like, dude, where is this thing? So I'm moving with the broom, I'm moving the clothes around. Yeah, Dewey had the slingshot. Dewey, if you remember, message me. I'm trying to remember how this went. So I'm moving the clothes around, and I'm kind of freaked out. We open the next drawer, and then I hear it. And I'm like, dude, he's just slowly going up the drawers. So I open the next one. And dude, I'm like, oh crap.
Because you know now. It's
Yeah,
like,
I'm 20 years old and I don't like rats still. And I've
There's
lived down
only-
there for a while.
Yeah,
I mean, the tarantulas freaked me out less than the rats. So I open the top drawer and I'm like, okay, Dewey, just smack this crap out of this thing. So I open the top drawer and it's not there. And I'm like, dude, what the heck? And I turn
Magic.
to Elder Dewey like this. And this rat comes flying out of it. It jumps out, and I'm like, what the crap? So Dewey with the
How scared
slingshot,
were you?
dude, Dewey's got the slingshot. Boom! Hits this rat that
No
launches
way.
it across the floor, and he just starts like a machine gun. He's got all these little coconuts that we would collect. We got way good with these slingshots.
Wait, so he's rapid firing?
Oh, dude, Dewey's like,
Like Legolas on
this
Lord
thing
of the
is
Rings.
just exploding.
like a Legolas.
It's exploding in the kitchen now. Just getting hit, pelted with these coconuts until it dies. There's blood everywhere again, and I'm like, and then we just throw it outside and go back to bed. And the next morning, it looks like Platoon happened in there. You're just like, dude. Yeah, that's the mission in Paraguay, dude. There you go.
I have to tell a mission story now.
No, this is fun, dude, yeah.
This isn't a one-upper.
This is great.
But
No,
it did
I love
remind
it.
me.
I hope it is a one-upper.
I was in America, so
hard-
literally I don't think
I
anything's
drove
bad.
on the moon. Remember that? Yeah.
I invented the
Cool
moon.
Porsche. You would drove in the Autobahn. I drove on a moon
Remember that
rover.
Kristen Wiig Saturday Night Live skit? Where she's all going-
Oh yeah.
No, so I was on my mission and I was already pretty out of shape, and then I was out and I was kind of like riding my bike on this college campus. There's all these girls around. We're cutting through the college campus, so I jumped my bike. When I landed, the bike exploded underneath me, and I landed on my collarbone. This is just a warm up for the story. So I
I'm
broke.
glad we can't date
Yeah, so I
because
broke
that's
my
all. None of that was gonna happen.
no. So I broke my collarbone. So now I'm like sedentary for like 2 weeks, and then I'm in a car now, so I'm not even getting my bike exercise. So I'm like in super bad shape. I like balloon up. I'm like 300 pounds,
All
And-
that good Southern cooking.
and I get a transfer to Elder Gillespie. I've told about Elder Gillespie before.
Was he
on
the professional mountain biker dude that
Yes.
whipped you into shape?
yeah. And so I
That
go to Elder
scrubbed the
Gillespie.
black lady's feet?
Yes. And so day one, he's like, "All right, let's go, Elder." And he's a zone leader, so he has a car.
Oh, nice.
And I'm thinking that I'm still recovering because my collarbone's still like, it's like this big. It's like it's like a big knot. It's like when I tie my white shirt, it would like poke out. No, he's like, "Let's go, put your helmet on," and I'm like, "Okay." So I like get on my bike, and dude, we ride, and we ride, and we ride, and I had a little bike speedometer on my bike. 33 miles, dude. And I'm 300 pounds.
Yeah, you're dying. You're
And
sweating.
My butt's bleeding
Why?
because
the
of the
swass
seat.
is so
the
bad.
swass and the seat. It's, you gotta work your butt into the butt.
Dude,
bike
so
shape.
would Gold Bond go out of business if it weren't for LDS missionaries?
Bro, he had Gold Bond, and it was medicated. It had pain
we
stuff in
would
it.
just put baby powder and then like put the fan on us.
I think it causes cancer now, dude.
Sure.
But anyway, so anyway, what reminded me was when you came and fell asleep. So I had a little like biker bag, messenger bag, so it like snaps around
Like a
your
fanny
waist.
pack type thing?
Yeah, it had a thing around your thing, and then it would snap around your so you could ride your bike easier.
Okay.
And I had my helmet on, and he's like, "All right," and we get back, and he's like, "I'm going to take you back early." Oh no, we didn't before we got back. I apologize. I'm going to take you back early, and I'm like, "Dude, I can't go
Like, how are we going to
anymore."
get anywhere early? There's 33 miles back.
Yeah. Well, we were all around.
Okay.
So we only had about 7 miles.
You're like, dude, we'll get back tomorrow.
We had like 7 miles. It wasn't straight. That would be amazing. No,
He's like,
but we had like 7 miles, and I'm like, "Elder, I can't go anymore. I can't
My
go.
butt is bleeding.
And I could barely stand up. And he's like, "Hold on a second." And we pull into the 7-Eleven, and he goes in there, and I'm like, I don't even know what he's doing. I'm just like sitting there, like, kill me. Like I'm like, leave me here. I'm fine with it. I'll just
you
stay
stay in
here.
touch with this guy? I'm just curious.
A little bit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, cool.
He comes out with a bag of marshmallows.
You
And he's
shove
like-
these in your pants.
He's
and
like,
it'll absorb the
scientifically,
moisture.
every time you get tired, just put a couple marshmallows in your mouth.
I was way off.
And I'm like, okay. And so he like, and I'm just like, and he unbuttons my shirt and he tucks this bag of marshmallows in my like shirt.
I want to meet Gillespie, dude. This is awesome.
Yeah, because he doesn't take. I mean,
This
talk about
guy's-
no excuses.
this guy's
He's like,
awesome.
Oh, you're 300 pounds.
You're
I'm a professional
You're about
boxer.
bleeding and can't breathe. Here, eat a marshmallow.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks.
So I'm riding my bike, dude, and I'm like, I'm tired, so I'd eat a marshmallow, and I'm like, I would feel a little bit better, dude. In 7
placebo
miles,
effect.
in 7 miles, I ate like a full size bag of marshmallows.
Back up to
I
300.
ate the whole thing, and then we get home, and I'm walking up the stairs, and I just throw my bike in the lawn of our apartment complex.
Yeah.
So like, there's apartments.
You're like, go ahead, brother.
and I'm like, whatever. I don't. If I
don't
never
care.
see the bike again, I
I
don't
don't care.
And it's like a nice bike. It's like a Cannondale. It's,
Oh, wow.
Oh, jeez.
And I just walk up the stairs, which there was, of course, stairs. And I
6 flights.
And I stumble into our apartment, and I walk to my bed, and I just fall face down on the bed. And I just woke up the next day with my helmet on, and my backpack was still on.
Dripping sweat.
And I was just sweaty. And he just made calls for 2 hours and rode. He got on the exercise bike.
He's done another 10 miles by the time you get up on the
You
exercise
freaking
bike.
jackass.
How cool is that? I mean, honestly, I love the missions. You know, I thought a lot about the missions just because this Pastor Jeff going with the missionaries and just being blown away by, dude, these guys are like, I think what he was the most surprised about, you guys should watch the episode. We can post the link probably. I think he actually interviews Dallas Jenkins about the LDS people. Like, how do you know, because there's so many people that are so anti, like, if they would have known The Chosen was filmed in Utah and on the LDS Church property, they thought no one would watch it, like the evangelicals. And so these men are just actually very like open now to accepting, you know, the sincerity at least of the Latter-day Saints, no matter how confused they think we are. But yeah, just think about these missionaries. And Travis, you talked about our sons coming back, men, and it is emotional because you remember that
baby's gone, dude.
that last hug with your child.
That person doesn't exist anymore.
That kid's never coming back.
Never.
There's a grown man coming
And
back.
it's sad. I like
and
mourning.
he's probably going to call you out on crap.
Yeah.
Dad, what are you doing?
So
Honor your priesthood.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, son.
You didn't go visit 38 families this week?
Yeah, you're a
Like, do you
disappointment.
even believe the
You're
Book of
a
Mormon is true?
disappointment. I remember doing that to my dad when I got back.
Yeah.
Why are you talking like that? You have the priesthood.
And
And
then
Dad's
he
like,
just-
dude, I'm so
just
ready for your
punches
missionary
you out.
stuff to get over, dude. Glenn, what are you doing tonight? I'm going on splits. They need Spanish speakers. Oh, you loser.
I can't wait till you're inactive.
Yeah,
and-
I can't wait till I can just start beating you again and not feeling as guilty. No,
Tragedy's hilarious.
it is. So that's good stuff.
This is almost a non sequitur, but I felt on the way over I want to share. Well, no, first I'll talk about you asked us to prepare a thought.
Yes.
And it was on when is the time you felt inspired to do something, right? Or what
You're
was
prompted to do something and follow it up because we're talking about testimony. I mean, we always go back to this. The whole purpose of this, I want you to examine your testimonies, your beliefs, your critical thinking. And guys, we talk about all these coincidences and these spiritual experiences on here because it's more evidence than any archaeological or anachronism proof or anything we can come up with. Look, what I tell you when I went through my faith crisis, the one thing I could hold on to that confused me the most, God, if this thing's a fraud, why are you so involved? I knew he was. So this is why we do this. Okay? This is why we do this. He's involved.
I'm figuring out my own testimony, to be honest, as well.
Good.
Like live in front of everybody.
Good. Even if we had no listeners, but we benefited from this. It'd be awesome.
So you talk about like, and I want to, a couple thoughts came to my mind with like, when you had a prompting and you followed through with it. And sometimes that can seem daunting, like, well, I have to follow through, and then it's this big, long thing. Sometimes you just have to do the next thing. And so mine comes from...
Wait, what do you mean? Like, so a prompting...
So I had a prompting. The story will make it obvious.
Okay,
the story will make it obvious. So I was inactive in the church when I was right after high school. My parents moved away from my hometown when I was still, I had like 2 weeks left of high school.
Which was the Dalles or whatever?
It was in Salem, Oregon.
Salem, Oregon?
And so I moved with my best friend Bill. He's a Catholic, good dude.
Yeah.
We were playing poker every
You
night.
told me this, yeah.
Yeah, we were playing poker every night. I had a girlfriend. She was like pretty cute chick. I just baptized her, which is, I mean, I'm embarrassed about a lot of stuff, but I don't mind.
No, dude, I remember being that young,
Yeah.
right?
And you know, it's like I had been a pretty good example, but I'd also done, you know, we'd messed up and stuff.
Boyfriend, girlfriend stuff.
Yeah, and nothing too serious. Obviously, I went on a mission.
She just wants you to wear sweats. I get it. Oh, sorry.
Fair enough. Anyway, so I'm inactive, and even my girlfriend's like, why did I join the church?
Yeah.
And like, she's going to church.
She's like, what is wrong with you?
Yeah, you're like, you're such a piece of crap. And I
you're
kind
like-
of felt like a piece of
You're
crap.
like, I baptized you, and now you think you're better than me?
Yep. Anyway, so then I find out that a friend of mine, and we weren't like super close friends. Like, it was just a guy I went to high school with. We didn't play in the same sports.
He was LDS or no?
He was LDS.
Okay.
And he was about to leave on his mission.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I'm like, I should go to his farewell. But it was a different ward. I mean, it was far. It wasn't nothing in my realm. I wasn't going to church anyway.
Yeah, you were just playing
Plus,
poker,
it was a different one. So
making out with your girlfriend. That's all
making out
you're
my girl.
doing. You're
So I
useless.
asked Lynette, and she's like, "Yeah, let's do it," because she's a good person. She wanted to obey her covenants. She disobeyed.
yeah.
I mean, just little things freaking whack.
She get married while you were on your mission?
She did,
Oh, really?
which was another great experience. But I'll share that later.
Yeah.
But so we go to his farewell, and you've heard your kids give farewells.
Sure.
And when it's your kid, you're kind of like, that's pretty cool. But most of the time, they're kind of like pretty shallow.
Almost like weird.
Weirdly, yeah. And it's like, I'm going to go on a mission, and here's the scripture, the blah, blah, blah.
And they used to make it a big production.
Yeah.
Like now they're like, we'll let you give a talk, the first
Yeah.
talk before the actual speaker.
And this talk, this talk was nothing like amazing. But I started like bawling. I'm like, holy shit.
That's who I'm supposed to be being.
I have to go on a mission. And I'm freaking inactive. And I was in the
Yeah.
back of Kaiser Steak building. I'm sitting in the back.
Is it named after Kaiser Sose?
No, Kaiser, Oregon. It's
Oh,
outside
okay.
of Salem. And it's this white building at carpet gym. And I'm sitting in the back, right between the gym and the chapel. And I'm like, I have to go on a mission. Now, my follow through on stuff is also terrible. And my parents don't even live with me.
Yeah, they've given up on you.
But I was almost struck by lightning
Yeah.
at Dave Gray's farewell. And I immediately went to talk to my bishop, did some repenting, got my call, did all the paperwork,
all, yeah.
went to the doctor by myself.
Oh, man. Back then they did
Yeah, they were up there and
there was no
fiddling
prep.
around.
No
Yeah.
prep. By the way, my guy used like a whole gallon of petroleum jelly.
None with mine. No.
I was busy going to the bathroom and cleaning up like all day into the night.
I don't know if that's normal.
And I don't know what happened. I blocked it.
Yeah,
He
it's
was
safe.
He was the Penn State
For some reason,
football
he
coach.
just started writing me.
His name was like Sandusky.
He started writing me letters and stuff. Just kidding.
Anyway, but my point is, it's like, all right, so what did I do? What did I actually do? I got that one prompting, and I acted to show up at that building. From then on, I feel like I was carried. You read about third Nephi, the son of Nephi, being carried out by the Spirit. The rest of it is almost like a whirlwind. Like it happened,
So,
but the hard part was just literally going to that farewell.
so, dude, like,
Ironically, too, Dave, I shouldn't say this. Never mind, I won't say it.
no. Oh, okay.
I shouldn't because it's private for
Okay,
him.
it's private for him. How cool is it though? Like, here's the thing that you think about. Okay, so would your life be different if you hadn't followed one prompting?
Oh my gosh.
It would.
100%.
But here's the testimony I want to throw out.
Okay, maybe not. I don't know.
No, it would, but there'd be more. He never stops.
never would give up,
The
right?
scripture that comes out, my arm is stretched out still. There's more. That's why when people are like, Glenn, you were lucky. This Ross family took you
That's
in.
true. Maybe I missed my mission. The mission's not. I mean, the mission's important. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, dude, it's so
But
important.
if you miss your mission, if I would have missed that prompting, there would have been another one.
Maybe it would have been delayed.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Maybe I never go.
Maybe, or who knows?
And that's
So it's important, right? Yeah, that's a really good one. I'm glad I asked you guys to think about that.
just show up. If you feel like texting someone, text somebody. I've been trying to do that too more, where I'm like, name pops in my head, and I'm like, I'm on my phone, freaking doom scrolling and arguing about stupid politics all the time. I might as well text someone and say, "Hey, man, I appreciate you. You're a good dude." And and I've been trying to do that, and I'm like, so I'm trying to get better at like because I had that one prompting that really
You've
paid
had
off.
You've had a million in your life that you've followed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good, man. I like it. I know that these promptings come. One of the dangers, and this is scriptural, one of the dangers of sin is that it numbs your ability to receive a prompting. So it's like, I fully believe you guys. Like it's been fascinating for me to see in business. Like, I used to stress so much about working all the time, very duty-oriented guy. Like, if I put in mine, it'll happen. It's been so crazy to watch in my business life as I like try to prioritize the Lord, like these weird things that just happen. I'm in the car business. I have a very dumb life. I just buy crap, fix it, sell it. That's what I do. And there's been times where I'm like, hey man, I don't know how I'm going to do it. No, Glenn, just go home, do your calling. No, go be with your family. Okay, we'll figure it out. Pay your tithing. Okay. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm at the auction and bid on this thing and nobody bids on it. And I'm like, oh man, there must be something wrong with it. And I get it and it's perfect. And it makes me a month income. Like, it sells 3 days later, I make $10,000. And I'm like, oh, okay. But I thought I had to get 5 other vehicles. I thought I had to do all this stuff. And so I've just seen, again, this is just a dumb thing about business, but in your lives, like, it is that way. Like, if you turn it over, what I almost tell him, Helaman, is like, dude, if you just turn it over to him and work in the kingdom, all these other things.
That's like that story from earlier with the Nephites and they're being held slaves and they have these burdens.
Sure.
And when they just turned it over to the Lord,
Yeah,
and
and it happens.
they were like, they still have the same burdens.
That New Testament, right? Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and then what? All other things shall be added unto you. Like,
yeah.
You'll just be fine. It's really hard to do, I'll admit. I used to think, gosh, guys, I've worked so hard thinking, because my dad was a duty guy. He was like,
Well, that generation, too, was big into
my
that.
dad worked 70, 80 hours a week till he died. He just worked himself to death. Like, I've seen my dad come home at 1 a.m., get up at 4:30 and go to work day after day after day after day, year after year. And, I remember, like, one of the talks I got, one of his employees asked if he could leave early. This kind of tells you how I was created, right? And my dad was in a really bad mood, and he calls me and he goes, Glenn, come here. I had been off my mission. I worked for my dad. I want to teach you something right now. Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
That guy asked me for an advance last week. Okay. And he just took 3 hours off to go play softball. Okay. If you ever take a man's daughter as your wife and sacrifice taking care of her to play softball, I will come to you and kick your ass.
I wish we could edit in a picture of Glenn's dad.
Okay, Dad.
Have you guys seen the freaking picture of his dad? His dad played in the NFL. And he had a hairy back. And he's posing, flexing. And he looks like...
Like maybe 2 of these shells.
He's freaking enormous, dude.
So he's just like
So that wasn't an empty threat.
very duty. Like, it's like, you do your duty, man. You man up and do your duty, right? Like, 5th grade, a kid bullied me, and he was twice my size. And I came home crying, and my dad's like, what are you crying for? And I'm like, I just got roughed up by this kid, and he pushed me off my bike and scratched my bike. And my dad's like, oh, okay. What did you do? I'm like, I just came home. And he goes, get in the car.
And dude,
Drives me to his house and says, I'm not going home until you ring the doorbell and punch him in the face. And I was more scared of my dad.
so you're like, I guess I'm doing this.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, is David here? Yeah, it comes down. I swing. I miss. He beats me up again in front of my dad. I get in the car. My dad drives me home. Okay.
I guess that's...
At least you stood up for yourself. And so...
Dude, hold on. I got a Barry story that before you go on. because Glenn worked with my dad, and he had PTSD, I think, sometimes from my dad.
They acted a lot very similar to these crazy,
I'm not a racist, but it's a miracle because I was a first grader, and I got a new bike, and I called it like...
First grade, what are you, like 7? 6?
6 or 7, yeah.
I think I'm 7 years old at this point, and I'm riding my bike, and these 2 Mexicans come out, and Mexicans, they freaking are big when you're in elementary school. They're bigger than normal. And they were fourth graders. So they're 3 years older than me. They're enormous. I just remember they were so big.
They're carrying switchblades. They have mustaches.
But I don't know about that. But,
Come here,
yeah.
but they literally are like, hey, give me your bike. And I'm like, what do you mean? That's my bike. And they're like, bonk. And they just push me off the bike and take it. I go and tell my dad. I was like, go get that bike.
You're like, what?
I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, tell me about this and where are they? And so he's like, okay, I know where they live. And he tells me how to get. So he doesn't even take me there.
Oh, dude, he just sends you on this quest.
I'm first grade.
Here's a
And
canteen.
It's a small
and a
town.
gun.
It's called the Dalles, but they lived in like the downtown apartments, and we lived kind of like just off of downtown. And so he just kind of describes how to get there. He's like, don't come back without the bike.
It's like so
Bro.
And so I'm like, okay. And I just go on this freaking voyage of my life. And I remember they had hidden the bike in the alley between there's this part of the building, these two brick high-rise, like 5-story buildings.
Yeah.
That had like the fire escapes on them. And it's like the alley between there. And then I see my bike, like, and it's a long walk. I mean, I was like,
Yeah, you're a
freaking
little
out.
kid, dude. You're like,
and so I'm like,
Walking
and then
through
I'm
the
like,
alley to
I'm
get your
afraid
bike.
of my dad. And I'm like,
you're more afraid of your dad than you are the kids.
so I'm like, all right. And I just run down this alley, grab my bike, and
Ride for
steal
dear
it back.
life.
And I did. I stole it back, and I went back. And,
Hit it. You hit it somewhere.
Yeah.
You're
And I'm like, all right, I'm never riding anywhere near there again, and I never did. But
That's funny.
I think it's funny that
we were
like, your
raised, our
dad
generation was raised that way.
Yeah.
And their generation, like, my dad told me, like, he called his mom a B word or something once. And my grandpa was a Navy boxer. So he would make my dad clean out the garage to create a boxing ring and bare knuckle box my dad as a punishment.
beat the.
So my dad's
shite out
like,
of him.
man, I take it easy on this kid. You know, it's just like different. You
It's like,
know,
why is Glenn so soft?
yeah, he's like, gosh, Glenn, dude, you act like I'm hard on you, and I'm like, black eye, you know, like, I popped you 2 times. My dad used to fight 3 rounds. Okay.
I have a Polynesian buddy. He says my dad never hit me. He always used an open hand.
Yeah, he never really.
I'm like, whoa, man.
Looking back, I think closed fist. I only got like maybe a couple of those. I can't remember. I woke up not remembering exactly, but I think.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, we're going off now, but one of my favorite ones is when I came home I was, pretty decent athlete, and my dad's like, you think you can take me, don't you? And he was old at this point. He was like mid-40s or something. I'm like, yeah, now I do, yeah. And before I could even finish the sentence, I get popped so fast by this truck-sized human, launches me, no joke, like 6 feet through these closet entry doors, and I break them with my body, and I land down. And he leans over me and goes, now you got your butt kicked, and you have to fix these doors with your own money.
That's abuse.
So yeah,
I mean, I just have to call it. It's hilarious now, but
it's
that's abuse.
It's pretty funny, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, okay. My point is, I was raised very duty oriented.
Oh, yeah.
To
I
the point
interrupted
where,
you.
no, it's great tangent, dude. It's fun to relate. But and I'm looking at these, always like I can do it. I have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as I'm aging, I'm like, no, man, I have to have some
You have
faith.
to release it almost.
I have to have some faith, dude, and put this in the hands of. Now, I'm glad he taught me because I really, for most of my life, could outwork pretty much anybody. Whether it was like my wife just would never go without. Period. Like, there's times in our life where it was like I wasn't making enough, and I just went and found a guy that was selling discount cards and got a check loan at a Czech City to buy the discount cards for a rate, and went out 2 nights in a row and sold them all so I could take. I mean, I get home from work and I go work because I was like, I told my wife, I'll provide for you. So, looking back, like, I mean, yeah, I could work, but really, man, if I really do know that if I just would have magnified my callings and my priesthood more and had more faith and been more in tune, the Lord, there was plenty of times he's giving me these promptings. Like he would have given me like, hey, that guy's probably looking for help. Ask him if he's hiring or whatever. And I didn't hear it. So I think what the message that I wanted to kind of get through today is like, it's come full circle, and this is where I tell you guys, like, I do believe the Spirit's involved with our dumb little show here. Dan started the question, why do we suffer? And it's what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Because we hold ourselves back.
I just think that's weird.
It is so weird, you guys. Like, I've watched this happen week after week, and I don't bring it up much.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, there's something going on. So maybe there's someone we're helping out there. If we are, I'd love to hear from you. Like on YouTube, just get on there and make a comment. Like,
I'll leave a comment.
Even just a thank you.
What's that?
I said, even if it's just a thank you.
Yeah, just something like, we don't need it, but I'd love to know someone's getting helped. I do know there's people listening all the way through, because I'll get random texts like, hey, this meant a lot. And it's like stuff that I forgot we even talked about usually. And I'm like, oh, what? I'll go listen again. But
and if we say anything offensive, we're sorry. We're not perfect.
We are so not perfect, and you already know that. And we're not trying to play up a character either. Like, the podcast is, we're regular guys, but I want you to know we're not trying to play it up like we're the regular guys. We are literally guys trying our best to be better.
I'm actually on my best
And
behavior at this podcast.
We're failing like crazy, and so it's like we're trying our best. But yeah, I appreciate that. I think there's some good stuff that happened here today. One, why do God's children suffer? We talked about that.
If God's just, especially, why does he let us suffer?
And let me tell you something, guys. Like, as a population, there's data out. The happiest people in the world are Latter-day Saints. And people are like, no, you haven't read about Prozac use in Utah and all this stuff. No. You look at the happiest people in the world as a population, it's the Latter-day Saints. There's studies about it.
Well, even non-religious specific, anytime you serve someone else, you're happier, regardless of where you are and what you're doing.
I hear people talk about this high demand religion and I and how hard it was for
it
them.
sounds so smart. It's such a smart way to disagree with the church. But
man, I look
so
at
dumb.
the church different. I do. I look at and guys, like, there are people that drive me crazy in our church, but I have nothing but admiration. Like, if you look at, I am lucky enough to I go to bishopric meeting every Sunday, and I watch the bishopric, and those guys, the time, the care, the effort, the bishop, like, literally just like spilling his guts how much he loves the kids that we serve in the ward. And then ward council comes, and these people are like making me feel like I'm a piece of crap because I think I'm putting in forth effort, and then they're all talking about all the stuff them and the people in the ward are doing for other people in the ward and everything, and I'm like blown away. Like, these are people that donate time, energy, real time, sacrifice. We're talking about 19, 20-year-old kids on missions. Guys, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is inspired. All these callings and all these things are inspired to foster an environment for people to see what Alma was trying to get his son to see. Just labor in the vineyard, and everything will work out. The trials will be easier to handle, and the callings will bring you inexpressible joy, And I'll just finish with my testimony that I know that's true.
I love it. Well, it's been a wild ride. Thank you so much for, if you're at this part, appreciate you listening. Help us out. We do this because we honestly want to help people that are specifically struggling with their testimonies. And, anything that we can do to help would be great. How you can help is like, subscribe, share, comment. And, we really would appreciate it. We enjoy doing this, but, anybody we can reach and help out through a tough time would be great. So, thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dan and Mike.
Yeah, thanks, producer Dan. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Appreciate having me here.